Alrighty, hey everyone, welcome back. So Monday, what happened today? Not much. Bitcoin was up, Bitcoin was down, Bitcoin finished in the green. Miners were up, they were down. They finished in the green for the most part. Markets were in the green, then they finished up in the red. Kind of, same old story it seems like. We'll take a look, obviously, what happened today with Bitcoin, with miners. We'll take a look at also on the news that we have for IREN. The convertible notes, they got really good rates at that point also. So we'll talk about that, compare that to some of the other companies that have gotten convertible notes. And that's kind of why I said IREN is kind of like the best right now based on that. We'll take a look at it though. We have some other good news stories as well for not only Bitcoin, but also for the, well, I don't know if it's good news for the AI space, but we'll take a look at it nonetheless. And then we'll also take a look at the miners as far as market cap to their past revenue here, the last quarter and the last 4 quarters of revenue compared to where the market caps are right now and what they're getting, basically the valuation on that as well. Okay, and then we'll also take a look at quantitative easing. What impact does it have on stocks and crypto as well? This is going to be from AI, from Gemini, right? So this is a deep dive or deep think from them, I guess is what they call it, as far as what it provides, right? Well, so we'll take a look at that. I'll give you guys my thoughts on it as well, and then we'll get into Q&A. So as always, not financial advice for whom only. Do your own research. Full disclosure below that. Hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously here. And let's take a look at what we got going on here with the markets, with Bitcoin and everything else. Where do I go? I want to go over here. All right, so here's Bitcoin. Bitcoin, like I said, was up today, was down today, and finished out in the green here today, which was nice to see. We hit a low of 89,599 exactly. We hit a high of 92,291 and 96 cents, and then we closed at 90,653. So overall, still a green day. We're in the red here a little bit right now, but we were up 0.28%. So a measly increase there. From what we saw, obviously, yesterday on Sunday. For Tuesday, we're in the red here. Like I said, the markets were in the red today as well. They were in the green for the most part. There is some good news. We'll talk about also NVIDIA that's coming up here. But the Dow Jones was down. NASDAQ was down. S&P was down. The Russell was actually up 0.04%. Ethereum here on the day was up nicely. It was up 2.09%. So that one fared better than Bitcoin did. It's down a little bit here on the new day for it. Miners, for the most part, like I said, we're in the green. Bitfarms was down just a little bit, 0.34%. BitTier was up 1.61%. Cango was down 1.65%. This thing continues to slide downwards here after being up much, much higher from where it's at right now. On that one, Cypher was up 1.04%. Cleanspark was up 1.28%. CORZ was up 3.39%. Really no news on that one. Not sure why that one's starting to kind of bounce here a little bit today. But it did touch the 50 SMA here and reject that a little bit. Came back down. Hive was down today 0.64%. Hot E was up 1.18%. IREN was up nicely as well, 3.65%. Mara, so that's actually good news because we have the convertible notes all figured out. We'll talk about that here in a second, but that's good. Mara was up 2.64%. Riot was up just a little bit, 0.13%. And Wolf was up 3.17% there. Kind of holding a line here a little bit right at that level, more or less. So maybe we do have some support there on that one. MicroStrategy was actually up 2.63. We have some news on them as well. They bought some more. Galaxy was up 2.52%. Block was down 0.11%. Coin was up 1.66. Metaplan was up 2.71. Exodus was up 1.57. Nexum was up 1.59. Similar was up 5.89. And Phoenix here was flat. GameStop was up 1.52. Small miners were mixed, half and half. Some were up, some were in the red, some were in the green. Bitcoin ETFs for the miners here were in the green, 1%, 2%, 2.5% roughly, and 2% almost. On that one, the Ethereum holding companies were, for the most part, in the green here, except for BitDigital was down 0.9%. BMNR was up 5.23% there. Let's see, BTCS was up 2.1%. Game was up 2.1%. SBET was up 3.17%. Other companies that we track here, American Bitcoin was down another 9.42% there. It's definitely heading down into the downward direction here, it seems like. I still think that this thing is overvalued from where it's at right now, but that's just my thoughts on it. Wi-Fi was down just a little bit, 0.93%. Open was down 1.4%. Oracle was up 1.36%. Nibius was up Oracle was up 1.36%. Nibius was up 2.34%. Soluna was down 3.61% there. Backed was down 8.86%. Fermi was up 3.43%. And who else do we have here that we look at really quick? Meta was down 0.98%. Google was down 2.37%. Amazon was down 1.15%. Microsoft was up 1.63%. and NVIDIA was up 1.72% as well. And obviously, there's some good news for NVIDIA when it comes to the Chinese market there. Basically, the President Trump has approved it. We'll take a look at that here in a second. Miners here in after hours right now are not doing that great. We got BitDeer being up 0.42%, Bitfarms actually being down 0.68%, Kango being up 2.52%, Cypher being down 0.2%, Cleanspark being down 0.14% now, Core being down 0.45%, and then we have Hive being actually up 0.32%, Hut 8 being down 0.79%, IREN also being down 1.25%, Mara here being down 0.66%, Riot down 0.13%, and TeraWolf being down 0.2%. So we'll see how the miners do tomorrow morning when that opens back up here. The Bitcoin here for the month of December right now, we're up a little bit, 0.19%, not huge, not great. It is what it is. We'll see if we can, I doubt we're going to be able to squeak out a massive rally here towards the end of December, especially like I've said in prior videos that December typically we have, a sale on Bitcoin, and not only that, but also market as well as mom and pop shops and investment firms and hedge funds and all that start locking in their gains for the year. That usually happens within like the last 2 weeks of the month here. We have basically a week to go before that time frame is up. So I doubt we're going to have a huge rally here in December in Bitcoin. As far as the Bitcoin ETF inflows and outflows, we had outflows today. So far, 89.2 million. We still are waiting for IBIT to report. I'm guessing that's going to be negative as well, even though Bitcoin was able to squeak out a green here. So we'll see how that continues going forward here. FedWatch tool for the rate cuts happening this Wednesday. 89.4% are basically stating that we're going to get rate cuts here. Whether it's going to be 25 basis points or 50 basis points, time will tell on that on Wednesday. We'll definitely talk about it at that point and what that actually means for us here. And next, let's get into the good news stories that we do have here. This is actually from Elon Musk. Elon Musk commented, interesting. So Google CEO is talking about data centers in space in every interview he's doing. So basically, Sundar, I can't pronounce his name. Sundar Pichai, the CEO of Google, is talking about data centers, putting those into space, right? So we've been hearing that a lot more lately than we have in the past. They also have signed a deal for like 3.7 gigawatts of power as well. We'll talk about that here in a second. That's coming up as well, part of this. But the constraint right now for a lot of these companies is megawatts. The good thing is, obviously, IREN, Cypher, Riot, Cleanspark, TeraWolf, and others have megawatts available within the next year to 2 years. So I think that's going to be basically gulped up as fast as possible. It's going to happen. And then eventually, once that is all used up, then we're going to start looking at doing these kind of deals where we're going to talk about here shortly. Google partnering with I think it's a nuclear power play. They're going to be talking about it. And then after that point, we're going to be looking into space, right? Space, you put the stuff out there. You don't need any of the cooling out there because you're in basically, what is it? What do they call that? 0 Kelvin, I think it is, right? Right around there, right around close to 0 Kelvin. Temperature, as long as you're not facing the sun on those things, the chips can cool themselves off really easily. And then you have free electricity if you have solar array powering your data centers out there. So that is going to be interesting to see that play out in the next, I would say, probably 5 to 10 years or so. But we do have right now a test satellite that's running a H100 GPU from NVIDIA that's in space right now. They're testing it to see how it performs and basically the thermodynamics of it, right? How does the chip perform in outer space right now? And connectivity, all that stuff, that's all being tested right now. So we're in the very, very early stages of this. But I do think in the next probably 3 to 5, 10 years, we're going to start seeing more and more of these deployments happening here, especially as SpaceX finalizes their what do they call it? Oh, I'm trying to blank on their new vehicle that they're using for outer space. It's not Starlink. I'm thinking of Starlink, but I know it's not Starlink. It's, yeah, you guys know which one I'm talking about there. Their biggest rocket ship right now. So that'll be interesting there, okay? Next here, we got on the US CFTC just announced it will test Bitcoin as a collateral for derivatives. And the US markets are opening to Bitcoin as well. So that's good news for Bitcoin here going forward. This is part of the Clarity Act, right? So one of you guys asked about the Clarity Act yesterday. This is part of it a little bit because that gave a little bit more definition as far as what the CFTC controls and what does the SEC control as far as crypto. So this is part of it. They're just extending this out, obviously, into new regulations, not really new regulations, but new approvals and things like that through the CFTC as well. So this is good news for Bitcoin there. Next year, Strategy has acquired 10,624 Bitcoin for $962.7 million at 90,615 per Bitcoin and has achieved a Bitcoin yield of 24.7 year to date as of yesterday, I believe it is. They currently hodl 660,624 Bitcoin acquired for $49.35 billion or an average price of $74,696. We got kind of close to that about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, when Bitcoin got down to 80,000. I think their overall, what am I looking for? Their max pain for them to get liquidated is like 30 some odd thousand for Bitcoin at that point. So we got still ways to go, I think, before they are in any trouble. But the strategy has not been performing that well right now. It could be, I've seen a couple of reports stating that Bitcoin or strategy itself is like at the cusp of Bitcoin and Bitcoin adoption and all that, but you're seeing a lot of people going long on Bitcoin and short on MicroStrategy, which has definitely flipped from where we were just about a year ago at that point, which is kind of interesting as well. Next here, we have Fed just confirmed the state of quantitative easing, the money printer. They will buy back 45 billion in treasury bills every month starting in January 1st. Final giga bullish news for crypto. We'll talk about that here in a second as far as what that actually means for them. Well, what it means for stocks and crypto as well, based on AI response there. Next here, we got Google, right? We talked about that here in the beginning a little bit. Google and NEE are partnering on multi-gigawatt U.S. data center campuses with dedicated power for accelerating AI demand. The first 3 sites are already in development with 3.5 gigawatts operating or contracted there. So you're obviously seeing Microsoft going in for, what is it? It's not Long Island, it's the other one, 3 Mile Island. 3 Mile Island power generation there, right? They're spinning that back up in the next year to 2 years. So they're going to be having some 1 point something gigawatts available to them to use for data centers and things like that. You're seeing Google here doing this as well. And then you're seeing obviously Google talking about going into outer space as well. So yeah, megawatts, gigawatts are in short supply right now. And everybody's doing everything they can to lock up as many gigawatts as they can going forward. So this is definitely interesting here. And like we said before, right, IREN, Cypher, TerraWolf, Bitfarms, Cleanspark, all of these guys have megawatts available within the next year, if not already. So we probably should start seeing more and more deals happening here with those guys as well, just so they can lock it up going forward there. Next here, this is Trump here. Trump will be signing a one rule AI executive order this week. This administration is going to keep making things easier for AI to flourish. And this is basically what it does is make it so individual states don't cause havoc in the AI race right now, because we are in a race with China and other countries as well to build out AI as fast and as powerful as can be. And if we have different laws and regulations across the states, it makes it much more challenging for these AI companies to build out and compete on a playing field compared to China and things like that. So I'm for this. Constitutionally, right, is it the right way to do it? I don't know. But I am for this. I think this is a good thing going forward for the AI companies. They need a level playing field when it comes to cross borders between different states and things like that, because if you have one state ruling on something, then you got to abide by that and you can't do it on another state. It just causes havoc and trouble, and it also slows down innovation. And we don't need that right now. We don't want that right now. We need innovation to proceed as fast as possible in here. Obviously, we don't want things to be broken in the long run, right? So you've heard that probably comment before, right? Run fast, break things, or something like that. We want to run fast, but we don't want to break things. We don't want to have AI take over the world, but we do want to obviously get ahead of other countries as well in AI, and I'm for this. I think this is a good thing, but we may need to have some kind of laws passed on this I'm guessing, to make it pretty airtight. Because if we don't, the next administration that comes in here, whoever that might be, can rescind all those executive orders that Trump is doing. So we need laws on the books, I think, and for the long term. Short term, I think this is a good thing. Next here, this is from the Kubasi letter. Breaking President Trump also says he has called China's President Xi and approved sales of NVIDIA H200 chips to China. Trump says 25% of the revenue will be paid to the U.S., and the same approach will apply, obviously, to AMD, Intel, and others. I don't know how I feel about this. The only reason I say that is because China is kicking our butt in energy production. So if it takes, 2 times more power or 3 times more power to get the same equivalent in compute, they can do that with the H100s there, or H200s actually. So I don't know how I feel about that. I'm kind of on the fence around it right now. I know it's great for NVIDIA. NVIDIA's going to be definitely, obviously, getting a heck of a lot more revenue because of it. But it's going to be good for the United States because they're getting 25% of the revenue there. But I just don't know if the H200s were the right ones. Maybe they should have went with like the H100s, maybe approve those. Those would have been, I think, was that 3 generations behind the current Blackwells that they're coming out with. And then they got the other ones coming out later on next year as well that are even more efficient, faster even as well. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think on that one. Like I said, the only reason I think is that because of China's electricity prowess compared to the United States right now. They're building out a lot. So that kind of has me a little bit concerned there. But let me know what you guys think on that one. Next here we have going to IREN here. So this was the original premise of the video here a little bit, right? Why IREN is pretty much the best bet here going forward. And this got me thinking a little bit as well on that. And this is from the tech investor here. IREN was arguably the most successful company in raising capital through notes offering. IREN October offering was 0%, December offering 0.25% and 1% here. The competition there, Nibius in June got a 2% and 3%. September offering was 1% and 2.75%. And CoreWeave June offering was 9% and 9.25%. And December offering, we don't know yet, right? So that got me thinking, is like, if they're able to get such low interest rates on their offerings, that's got to be a very, very positive sign for the company and the way it operates and everything else. And it also makes it appear less risky to investors and institutions as well. So that's a good thing, right? They're obviously generating a heck of a lot of revenue right now from Bitcoin mining and funneling that revenue into expansion into HPC AI and things like that. So I think this is why they might be one of the best bets here going forward. We'll have to see how other companies do in the space. Obviously, we got Cypher in there as well, which got a little bit higher rate recently. TeraWulf as well. And we've seen others do pretty good here. I think the ones that are generating good revenue from Bitcoin mining are seeing lower interest rates than others. And that might bode well for the likes of Cleanspark. Cleanspark is generating definitely a lot of revenue there. And their notes came in pretty good as well. So I think there's a little bit more confidence in some of these companies that have grown their megawatts tremendously and applied Bitcoin mining to those megawatts. And they're getting a little bit of a little bit more of a pass, I guess. Not really a pass. Not the right word that I want to use probably. Probably just they're getting benefit of the doubt, I think, with institutions and things like that are investing in these companies here. Okay. So when we look at that here in a second here, we'll take a look at IREN here from their report today. So they closed in a 2.3 billion convertible notes offering and repurchase of existing convertible notes. So the offering is for 2.3 billion, 1 billion offering at 0.25% convertible senior notes due 2032, and 1 billion offering of 1% convertible senior notes due 2033. 300 million green shoe fully exercised. So from both of those, it was 150 million that they could exercise more, and they did. So that bodes well. Cap call transactions expected to provide a hedge upon conversions of up to an initial cap price of $82.24, which is roughly 100% from where we are right now. And then no put options for investors in the notes other than a customary put right in the case of certain fundamental changes. So that's great news there. And they're obviously paying off some of the older convertible notes that they had that going back to, I think it was last year, the year before. 316.6 million, right, at 3.5% convertible senior notes were due at 2029. That's being converted over, right? They're paying that off. The 227.7 million at 3.25% convertible senior notes due 2030. Also, that's being paid out. And then this is all funded via registered direct placement of approximately 39% ordinary shares. So combined transaction raises net proceeds of approximately $2.27 billion, lower averages annualized cash coupons, and extend maturities on outstanding convertible notes, which is great, right? So they're paying off some of these higher interest rate transactions, and they also got a heck of a lot of cash for it to fund all of the build out that they need to do for Microsoft deal that they have right now, plus their own HPC deals that they have with getting their own GPUs installed for their own customers there. So this is great news, and that's why I think IREN right now is a really probably the best bet out there out of all the players that we talk about here. Not only the ones we talk about, but also some of the ones like Nibius, CoreWeave as well, right? This one's definitely getting a good vibe from institutions. Is the best way I can probably put it. All right, so I'm bullish on IREN. Long term, I've seen people posting that IREN could still go like 10x from here. Would I love to see that? Yes, I would absolutely love to see that. I would also love to see it, just go 3 to 5x. I'd be very, very happy if it did that from where we are right now as well. And I think it will. It's just a matter of time. As far as how much time, I don't know. We could be looking at a year, 3 years, maybe 5 years. Don't know. It all depends on how quickly they lock up their megawatts with either customers for themselves or from hyperscalers, things like that, which they do obviously have a lot of megawatts still available that's on the table going into next year and into the following year as well. So really happy to see that IREN is doing very, very well here. All right, lastly here, we're going to take a look at quantitative easing here. So one of you asked about it. How does it impact stocks and crypto here? So I posed this question to Gemini from Google here, and here's what it had to say. So we'll kind of go over this relatively quickly as well. So impact on stocks. The historical evidence suggests a general positive correlation between quantitative easing and rising stock prices. The effect of QE on stocks is primarily driven by 3 mechanisms. So we talk about portfolio rebalancing and risk taking. QE drives down the yields, returns on safe assets like government bonds, facing lower returns on these risk-free investments. Institutional and individual investors are often compelled to shift capital into riskier assets, such as stocks, equities, right, in search of higher returns. This increased demand pushes stock prices up, okay? So I agree with that. I've done some research on this as well behind the scenes here, but this kind of lays it out pretty good here, better than I could probably explain to you guys. So that's kind of why we're using AI here. Number 2, lower borrowing costs. By lowering long-term interest rates, QE makes it cheaper for companies to borrow money for expansion, investments, or stock buybacks. Lower debt service costs can boost corporate profits, which encourages investors to buy stock, further increasing prices, okay, right? And increased liquidity and confidence. QE injects cash liquidity into the banking system, which is intended to encourage lending to businesses and consumers, stimulating economic growth. The central bank's intervention also provides a psychological boost to market confidence, suggesting policymakers are actively supporting the economy, which can lead to higher asset valuations, which we've seen in the past as well. So that bodes well. There are some caveats as well. Critics argue that QE can artificially inflate asset prices beyond their fundamental value, potentially creating asset bubbles and increasing wealth inequality. The ending of QE, often followed by quantitative tightening or interest rate hikes, can introduce significant uncertainty and has historically been followed by market corrections or downturns, as seen after the end of the most recent QE programs. So we did see that a little bit here. The market still did pretty good overall, but it's kind of been down to a select, I wouldn't say select few, select companies that have done very, very well, while others, it's a high majority of the others that have not done as well compared to those that are in AI, medicine, energy, all of those other plays, right? So it's kind of a little bit of an imbalance there on that. Impact to cryptocurrencies here. So the effect on QE and crypto is generally attributed to inflation hedge and scarcity narrative. QE involves massive expansion of the traditional money supply, which can lead to fears of currency devaluation and inflation, right? Your dollar is being valued less next year than it is right now. That's been an ongoing problem, right? If you go back 30, 40 years, the dollar is worth probably 50% of what it was back then. So you get into other things. You get into gold, you get into crypto now recently, and other things. So cryptocurrencies, especially Bitcoin with its mathematical limited supply, are often viewed by investors as a digital gold or an inflation hedge, as an alternative scarce store of value outside the control of central banks. This narrative drives demand during periods of extreme monetary expansion. And And we've definitely seen that in Bitcoin, right? Bitcoin fixed supply 21 million there. As time has progressed, Bitcoin valuation has definitely increased here from, going back to 2017, which is just 8 years ago. Bitcoin was somewhere between 1,000 and 19,000 at that point, went all the way back down to like 3,000, and we've come up to 126,000. So you can see how that has progressed over time. When we did have quantitative easing, quantitative tightening was a little bit rougher on Bitcoin here, it seems like. But now that we're going back to quantitative easing, that should help out there. All right. 2, search for higher yields, risk on sentiment, similar to the effect on stocks. The extremely low or negative yields on traditional fixed income assets caused by QE push investors further out the risk curve. Cryptocurrencies, being a highly volatile and high potential return asset class, benefit from the risk on environment as investors seek assets that can deliver greater returns. So just not that, but it also means like some of these smaller play miners as well that are going into AI, right? So we've seen great performance by IREN here recently. We've seen it from Cypher, from TeraWolf, even a little bit from Cleanspark, Bitfarms, Hive even, and others as well have done very well in the last, I would say, 6 to 8 months. That's possibly going to end up being an actual impact on those guys going forward here, as we do get QE going forward as well. They should bounce even higher because of that as well. Okay, and then lastly here, alternative transaction currency use. The surge in the money supply and reduced trust in central bank stability during large QE events have also strengthened the argument for cryptocurrencies as an alternative, decentralized medium of exchange or transaction tool, which I agree there, right? The reason I got into Bitcoin was to hedge my bets against the stable coins, the dollar. Right, we've been seeing inflation happening 2 to 3% a year roughly over the last however many years. So if you hold on to cash, you got nothing. But if you get into something else, they can definitely, we weren't sure of it, but that was the actual idea or the premise behind getting into Bitcoin. But it has played out that way since I got into it in 2017, and people that got into it even earlier, 2013 and earlier than that, are doing very, very well because of it. So I think that's going to continue going forward as well because of the cap supply. You can't make any more of it. It is what it is at that point, and demand is increasing, and supply is not, meaning the price of that commodity or that coin there is going to go up here. Okay, so that's going to be the impact, more or less. So when we do get quantitative easing, that should be a good thing for stocks, should be good for crypto as well, should be good for our investments, which is a good thing as well. And I think 2026 is going to be a really, really good year for us. Even looking back at 2025, it hasn't been great, but it's been actually pretty good, all things considered, where Bitcoin's at right now compared to where the miners are still right now. Miners, for the most part, are still outperforming Bitcoin here in a sizable way. So that's great to see there. And I think 2026 is going to be even better year at that point. Okay, so there's my take on that. And let's take a look at what we got going on here with the miners as far as their market caps and some ratios as far as revenues are concerned on them to their market caps here. So when we look at these guys here, currently this is the most updated one as of today. We got market caps. So from the smallest market cap to the largest market cap here. Kango's the smallest here, are the ones that we track, followed by Hive at 734 million, Bitfarms 1.7 billion, BitDeer at 2.5, Cleanspark at 3.5, Mar at 4.5, CORZ at 5.4, Riot at 5.5, TeraWolf at 6.2, Cypher at 7.7 billion, and IREN, the queen there, at 13 billion right now, as it is on that. So IREN, like I said, is probably like the best one out there right now. It is definitely getting valued based on their ability to generate revenue as it is right now with Bitcoin, their future revenue potential, their megawatts potential as well, and they're really good stewards of the company's capital as well. Shares outstanding, you can see which company has the most. Right now it's Bitfarms with almost 600 million shares outstanding, followed by TeraWolf 418, Cypher 395, Kango 383, Mara 378, Riot 371, CORZ 305, IREN 283, Cleanspark 255, Hive 236, and BitDeer 208 million. And here's their last 3 months of revenue. This is their quarterly results revenue. This does not include any revenue that we had for October or November because some of these guys are now reporting it. So I switched the data over to the quarterly results on these, so that way it's all the same across the board. And we're getting evaluation on that. We can see here that Mara has had the best revenue here, 242 million, but we know that it's also costly for them. They're not the most efficient operator there. Then you got IREN at 234 million right after them. Cleanspark 224, Kango 221. Kango has a lot of hash rate, but asset light. That's why they're getting valued the way they are right now. Riot after that, 161 million, followed by BitDeer, 127 million, Hive 82, Cypher 79, Bitfarms 69, Core 58, and TeraWolf 51 million. Okay, and then 12-month revenue here you can see as well. Mara is leading the pack here with 883 million, followed by Cleanspark 768, then IREN 669, Riot 571, Kango 510, Core 267, Bitfarms 262, BitDeer 254, Cypher 238, Hive 193, and TeraWolf 150 million over the last 12 months. So basically the last 4 quarters. Now, when we do some multiples of that on their revenue to their market caps here, things look pretty interesting here. Okay, when we look at the 3-month revenue market cap multiple, TeraWolf is getting a huge premium there, 123.8. Yes, they do have contracts with FluidStack, Core 42 as well. And am I missing another one there? I might be missing somebody else. But I think that's it. But that's going to be coming up here in next year when they build those sites out. But right now, they're getting a huge premium on that. Followed by Cypher. Cypher is getting a huge premium as well, 96.6 multiple on the 3 months revenue. Core, same thing. Cypher has obviously deals as well in place. Core, obviously we know they have deals in place with Core Weave there, but they're still getting a 94 multiple on their revenues. Then you got IREN at 56.2. Again, this is what leads me to think that they are still undervalued from where they really should be, and that's why I say they might be one of the best ones here. Okay, so compare that to TeraWolf and IREN. You got basically a 2x difference here, so IREN could still be worth 2x from where it's at right now. Then you got Riot at 34.5, Bitfarms at 25.1. So even Bitfarms is getting a better multiple here than some of these other guys that are generating a heck of a lot more revenue, like Mara, Cleanspark, right? BitDeer. At that point, Mara, Cleanspark, Hive, and Kango towards the end there. And when you look at the 12-month revenue here, TeraWolf is still leading the pack here with 41.7 multiple, followed by Cypher, same kind of situation here at 32.3. But then you got Core at 20.2, IREN at 19.6. So again, almost a half of where TeraWolf is right now. So that makes me think that they should be valued higher, right? Should be probably flipped there. And you got BitDeer 9.8 multiple, followed by Riot 9.7, Bitfarms 6.7, Mara 5.2, Cleanspark 4.6, Hive at 3.8, and Kango at 0.9 here. Bitfarms, obviously, we know has a lot of potential with their Pennsylvania sites. They're also building out their Washington site right now as it is, but that's going to be in 2026 sometime. That's going to happen. So they do have that potential there. Mara, I mean, they generate, like I've said before, a lot of revenue, but their operations always are a little iffy, and their costs are a little bit higher than others as well. But if you look at Cleanspark here, Cleanspark, second most revenue in the last 12 months, 768 million. They're only getting 4.6 multiple on it. They're transitioning over to HPC AI. This is another one that I think should possibly get valued much, much higher as time progresses here, especially as we find out more information on their AI sites and things like that they're working on those, any kind of deals or things like that. This thing is probably going to have a nice bounce here. I mean, if it gets to a multiple of just like similar to IREN or Core at a 20 multiple, you're looking at, what is that, 4x from where it should be right now, more or less. 4x for them on the market cap would bring them up only to about 14 billion. So that'd be kind of similar to IREN. So maybe not that high, maybe like a 3x, right? Somewhere between IREN and Cypher, maybe there, depending on what they get. Hive also 3.8 here multiple. Their revenues 183, but their revenues have been increasing here recently as they've gotten 25 exahash, and they're transitioning their sites in Canada as well for HPC AI and all those things. So I think some of these other guys here down below here could do very, very well going forward if they get repriced properly on any kind of deals that they have here going forward as well. So kind of interesting to take a look at this nonetheless, just to see where things stand based on current market caps, their historical revenues here, at least the 3 months and the 12 months time frames, what the multiples on those are at that point. And you can see where things stand at that point, right? Which one's getting a higher multiple, which one's not. And you can kind of see which ones are getting kind of undervalued based on those that one metric at least. So just another one of those things that you can add on top of the other metrics to see where things might possibly go, or where they should go at least. All right, so that's it. That's all I got for you guys. We'll see where things go later on this week. Right now, let's get into Q&A here. As always, spreadsheets will be available to my Patreon members. We'll get that out tomorrow to you guys. I mean, this is the only update that I did here. I'm still missing Hut 8. I got to add Hut 8 in here as well. I just ran out of time tonight to add them in there. I added TeraWolf into it and Bitfarms as well. I got to add HUD 8 into it as well. So we'll get that added in there and we'll review it next month as well. All right, that's it. Let's get into Q&A here. And I got to take a sip of my water because my throat's starting to get dry. See what you guys have to say. All right, let's see here. We've been going on almost 35 minutes or so. Let's get into Q&A and we'll call it a day. Okay. Let's see. As always, questions, if you could preface those with a question mark or a Q, I would appreciate it here. Let's start here. SK. Hi, Seb. Thank you for accommodating my request to cover QE impact on stocks and crypto. You're very welcome. A lot of this stuff is, easy to gather now with all the tools that we do have available to us. Obviously, the web, the AI now. It makes it a lot easier. And yeah, if you guys are interested in those types of things, let me know and I'll talk about it. I'll give you guys my thoughts on it as well. Let's see. John Kurt says, hey, Seb, yes, the IREN news after the close sounded good. Yeah, we talked about that. Obviously, that was great. BA2, thanks for coming in. Good day to you as well. Razgul, question, when you think Riot will get an HPCI contract? When you think HPCI will come? For Riot, I don't know. For any of these guys, we really don't know, right? They're all working on things behind the scenes, which we are not privy to. But eventually, I would expect all these guys to get a deal of some sort. The megawatts are in hot demand. They have megawatts. It's just, can they come to an agreement on the way they want to do it, right? We don't know which path Riot wants to go, whether it's going to be for a lease, right? A co-location deal or a lease, or are they looking to go also their own way with an HPCI cloud, Neo Cloud, basically becoming a Neo Cloud? Don't know. But we'll find out in due course. Probably within the next, I would say, 3 to 6 months, we'll find out they get a deal. They've been working on a deal, or they've been trying to get a deal for the past year now. And it's taken also IREN a pretty long time to get a deal before they got a deal with Microsoft. They've been going kind of their own way. But if you go back to last year, maybe even like a year and 3 months or so, 15 months or something like that, they've been talking about, discussing with potential customers, but it's taken that long for them to get deals here. So it's not out of the question that we could go even longer here. All right, Canadian, SBET is just about to launch. This rally is going to surprise and shock everyone. MicroStrategy to $800. Okay, that would be great. It would be, what would the MNAV at that point? I think the MNAV on that would be close to 2, I think, if they got to $800 with the current valuation that they have right now. Let's see, Steve says, yo, Seb, LFG, baby. I would definitely love for us to start rocketing here. Let's see, Canadian, thanks so much for the super chat. I appreciate that. We're going to be rich soon. I can feel it. Personally, I'm going to build an epic man cave and endgame pair of speakers. What are you going to do, Seb? What am I going to do? If I make it multi-millions, I'm going to continue to invest most of it. Some of it's going to go down to help pay off some of my debt that I do have. And then I've always wanted a pool. My wife doesn't want a pool, though. I don't know. Depending on how much in the green I am, I may splurge on a Shelby Cobra. Right, those things are like $40,000 to $60,000. I've always loved those things. I just love the raw power of them. It's not something that you would obviously drive every day, but just to have it during the summertime would be a fun little ride to have. That would be my one splurge. The rest of it is going to be take the family for great vacations and things like that. Enjoy the time, and that's basically it. I don't have a lot of needs. I don't need any like flashy things. It's just comfort things for the most part, right? All right, Daryl. What's the next best guess after IREN? After IREN, I mean, Cypher's got a lot of sites. Cypher would be a good contender there, I think. TeraWolf as well. I would say that. Hut 8 as well. They're working on a bunch of sites with a bunch of megawatts. Bitfarms, Cleanspark as well. It's just a matter of who gets deals when. Will greatly determine when they run. Like I keep saying, we're only one good news story away from these guys going off like rockets here. But there's a lot of these guys. A lot of these guys have megawatts, and a lot of that is obviously very important right now as it is. So I would say pick the best ones. Pick the ones that have historically done what they said they're going to do, executed on their plan, and gotten in a whatever the time frame has been, they executed on that time frame and reached those goals, or if not surpassed those goals. I would say those are the ones that are probably going to be pretty good operators when it comes to AI as well, because they're going to be, you have a track record at least. The other ones that have maybe a little bit more iffy track record, could they turn things around? Yes, absolutely. Okay, Daryl, question, what's the next best, I talked about that one already. Scott here. Well, the year that was supposed to make us coming to a close, good riddance. That was supposed to make us, 2025 has not been a great year. But again, depending how you look at it, right? Depending when you got into the miners, a lot of you guys are probably still nicely in the green, even though we've had a nice pullback here recently. But it's still, they've outperformed Bitcoin here for the most part, a lot of these. So it still should be pretty good. If you got into higher prices, I've been there. We've all been there, I think. Thing that saved me was dollar cost averaging into them. I don't know if that's going to be able to save you. I think it should, but that's obviously up to everyone to decide what they want to do there. Let's see. Gary says Cypher second best chance after IREN. I think so too right now with the megawatts that they have available. The only thing I'm a little concerned, well, I wouldn't say a little, just a teeny weeny tiny bit concerned, was obviously the convertible notes being a little bit higher priced there on percentage wise, a little bit. But that's it. Other than that, the megawatts, the team there is great. I think they're going to do just great. All right. Let's see. Daryl says, I loaded up on Riot, IREN, Mara, and Cleanspark, Bitfarms, and Hive on Friday. One of them has to moon soon. Oh, it may not be soon, but they should moon here. Whether it's going to be in the next 6, 12, 24 months, we don't know, right? Eventually, I think they will go up. I think there's still a lot more to go. All right. Let's see. Samir. Hey, Seb, other than waiting for December 10th and Powell's speech, that usually makes most investors panic sell, is there any other reason for extremely recent small volume? Holidays are coming up. It's December. And that's basically what I see. Right, like I said before, December is usually not a great month. We have obviously the institutions, the mom and pop shops selling towards the end of the month here, locking in gains, or even taking losses at that point to put on their books for next year. So it's going to be a bumpy ride here this month. It's been a bumpy ride here pretty much this whole year for Bitcoin, though. Canadian S says, I've noticed a lot of anti-data center propaganda, no doubt financed by China and Russia. LOL, people fall for this dreck. I've been seeing, obviously, communities are concerned. And the big concern is obviously the price of electricity going up for residents. That, along with water usage, if the data center companies can squelch those fears, and whether it's paying a little bit more on the power just to help alleviate some of the fears there, I think that'd be a good thing. I mean, a lot of these companies are making billions of dollars. If they go into a community and they actually help the community there by being able to keep the rates as they are or lower the rates for the residents there, I think that would be a good thing. That would be it would be a good thing, right? It would alleviate a lot of those problems there. And one of the things that I love about Cleanspark is they go into these communities. Yes, they pay a little bit higher price on the energy that they get there, but the communities themselves benefit on it by having lower electricity bills or lower tax rates because of it. So it makes it to where people want you in your community instead of being PO'd about you coming into their community. I have a couple of data centers that are local to where I live right now, and there's a lot of opposition to it. I think it's based on just fear-mongering from some people saying electricity prices are going to go up. You're going to run out of water, right, because they're using up so much water to cool these things. A lot of people don't understand that a lot of these systems are closed-loop systems where, for the most part, they shouldn't be using a lot of water. Once they do pull in the water that they need, they shouldn't be using that much of the water going forward. But yeah, I don't know if it's also, like you said, from China or Russia, if they're the ones spreading this, which could be the case. I'm not sure, though. All right. Amir Samir, IREN is a great company, but it's not my current top pick. Stock is up 10x. I will place Bitfarms as the top pick right now, underpriced and didn't have that tremendous run that IREN had yet. It had a pretty good run here recently. I mean, it was down to what 60 some 50 cents at one point. It got up to $6, $7, something like that. It had a fantastic run. It's down a bit from where it was. Yes, I will give you that. Probably down more than others, but it still had a huge run here recently. Look, I love Bitfarms. I'm in them as well. Right, it got to $6.60 here on the high, all the way down from, where did it come down here from? Yes, 70 cents. I mean, it was a little bit lower here at that point, 67 cents. So it's had a huge 10x on the rise up just since April. It's come back down here. It's about a 5x now from where it was. So it still had a pretty good run. The big thing for them is they're not as well capitalized. I mean, they are right now. They got $1 billion roughly in capital. So I think they're going to be okay there. They're building out the site in Washington, which is great. But now it's just a matter of getting actual customers going forward. So I have a lot of hope for them. And I think they're going to do very well going forward. But IREN also has done really well. I mean, I see what you're saying there, where IREN has had a huge run up also. So it's a matter of, do you think that IREN could still do 3 to 5x? Do you think Bitfarms has a higher likely chance of doing that? Then I could see why you would probably pick Bitfarms at this point. Right, a 5x on Bitfarms would be, what would that be? $15. That would give them, oh gosh, I'm not sure what the market cap would be at that point. But that seems maybe more doable. But it also depends on them being able to get all the megawatts that they want to do through the PJM market in Pennsylvania, right? They're trying to get, I think, 2 of their sites that could have potential of like 2 gigawatts. If they can get that cleared and passed and approved, then yeah, I think there's definitely maybe a lot of potential there for Bitfarms as well. But I own Bitfarms, I own IREN, so I want them both to do great. Whichever one does better, it doesn't really matter to me. I just want them to do great. All right, talked about that one. All right, BT2. Is part of IREN getting better terms related to how well their BTC operations is doing, profit versus other? I think it is. I think that has an impact on it, right? The lower rates that they're getting, I think it is based on their operations in Bitcoin. They're generating also a lot of revenue there on it, and a lot of it is cash flow positive. So that helps out, right? Because they're covering a lot of their expenses at that point, and they can also use some of the revenue there going into HPCI. Erwin, question. If one manages to make electricity in space, how will the electricity be transported back to Earth? Batteries will be too expensive to transport back and forth. Do we need to transport it back? I mean, obviously, you got solar here, which is electricity from the sun, which you're getting the same thing in space, but you're getting it at higher, I don't know if it's higher volume, is probably not the right word I want to use. But a higher velocity, right? You get more megawatts or more watts per square meter than you do down here in Earth. So I don't know if you want to bring it back down to Earth. The only thing you could possibly do with it is maybe a laser. Maybe, I don't know. Amir, Seb, did you consider rotating your profits from IREN into other companies that did not run as high but still have same business model? I did that a little bit into Cypher. So I did that, when did I do that? Earlier this year, I think I did it. Where I sold a portion of my IREN and Cleanspark shares in order to buy into Cypher because I saw Cypher having a pretty nice trajectory there as well. That's worked out really well. So I have done that. Yeah. Am I thinking about doing it right now? No. Right now I have a pretty good, I wouldn't call it a balanced portfolio. It's definitely not a balanced portfolio because it's all in Bitcoin miners. But I got, as you know, Cleanspark, IREN, Cypher, and Bitfarms right now, and I'm happy with what I have. Okay, let's see. Gary, 8 years old NVIDIA chips are still in demand. Those questioning chip life is likely going to show chips can last 10 years if demand remains great, as experts predicted. Great for IREN, not only great for IREN, but obviously great for others as well. Yeah, right. I was skeptical on how long those chips could be run last year. Going back, I was skeptical. I'm like, do you get an ROI on those things in 3 years, 5 years? Can you run them for longer than that And we're seeing that, yes, you can run them for like 7, 8 years now. That's some of the demand that's still out there for those. And that's great. That's going to be great for IREN and everybody else. Yeah, so I agree with you there. That's great. All right. Amar says, let's see, we shouldn't compare 2022 to 2026. Interest rates were rising and peaked in 2022. I gotta sneeze. Oh, jeez. Yeah, excuse me about that. M2's money supply was getting cut. It seems like the opposite will be happening in 2026. Your take. M2 supply has, well, I mean, if you look at the M2 supply, that's been going up like crazy here. At least this past year and the past couple of years. You're going to have interest rate cuts, which should be good. That will help people and companies take on loans and things like that at a much lower interest rate, which should spur the economy as well. People can take a little bit more risk then at that point. So I think that's a good thing. And if quantitative easing also plays into it, which it looks like it's going to, that should be a good thing there. So I think 2026 is going to be a really good year, not only because of that, but also you have the midterm elections happening here in the United States, which will, I'm sure, I gotta sneeze again. Excuse me. Which I believe the Republican Party is going to try to do everything that they can to have a steamy economy going forward into the elections there. Let's see, Heinzie's back. Hi, Heinzie. Your thumbnail is scaring me. I only have Cleanspark left. No hope. Oh, you'll do fine with Cleanspark too. Don't worry. Robbie Rose, if you didn't sell half your IREN at 80 from where it was at sub 4, you might want to check your greed level, less you like round tripping investing. It's already at 10x at 45 even after 20x. Yeah, I could have sold it at that point. I still believe at that point that they are going to go up higher. Yes, they've definitely come down here from where they are, but I still believe they're going to go up higher. It's not really round tripping. Round tripping, at least the way I would see round tripping is if you bought it in at $5 and you went up to 80 and you brought it back down to 5 and you sold it at that point, that'd be round tripping. But if you held on to it even at that point and it goes up to $120, yeah, you round tripped it metaphorically, I guess you'd say. But as long as you end up doing better in the long run, don't worry about that. I guess I don't worry about that. All right. Let's see. Rob says, basically, if you didn't buy MicroStrategy earlier in the year or IREN this year, and perhaps Bitfarms at 50 cents this cycle, disappointed. Yeah, if you didn't buy them at lower prices, it doesn't have to be at the bottoms there. Excuse me, allergies are kicking in. Yeah, but even if you bought in at other prices as well, right? If you bought in at $8 on IREN or $10 on IREN, you're still doing really, really well. Even if you bought in at $20, you're still doing really good, right? You double your money in a matter of weeks here. So it's all relative, I guess you could say. But yeah, if you got in at $80 on IREN or $6 at Bitfarms, then yeah, you're probably not happy at this point. But that's always going to be the case here with a lot of people that get in at later stages of the cycle or later stages of appreciating the stocks there. Keith here, question. BTC ran up in the last Fed meeting and then sold off. Looks similar now. You have any feelings on that? Thank you for your comment. Oh, gosh. I mean, we've been kind of coming down here regardless. I think it was just a correction that was needed to be done there. We ran up to 126,000. This current Fed meeting, we're at, what, 91,000? Yeah, I don't think it's similar to this point right now. Yeah, I don't think it's the same, to be honest with you. Gary, is IREN the only miner with any HPCI revenue in 2025 for data centers? I know feel like Hive have some companies, but don't believe any data center revenue. Yeah, Hive's got some revenue there. I think CoreWeave is getting something from CoreWeave already, but it's a small amount. Who else? Hive Hut 8, I think, has some data centers that they're obviously bit digital, but that's been spun out into Wi-Fi, so Wi-Fi is getting some revenue from data centers there. TeraWulf, I don't know if TeraWulf is getting any revenue right now in Q4 for it. They might be, I'm not sure on that one. Let's see. Keith says Shelby Cobra, nice. Yep. Let's see. Jordan says next year is the make it year. And it might be next year. It might be 2027 even. Sadie, thank you so much for the likes. BA2 CORZ has revenue for CORZ. It's getting some revenue from CoreWeave already from their data center there. Let's see. Morton says, Seb, there was no announcement on QE. If this came from Bitcoin historian, he is largely clickbait. It did come from, I believe, him. So, but I thought I saw somebody else reported also, not from him, but somebody else, that the Fed was going to be buying 25 billion a month or something like that. I think I saw that. Question said, what month in 2022 did Bitcoin go up to 69,000? It wasn't 2022. It was in 2021, and that was in November, I want to say, or was it October? I think it was November, but that was in 2021. Morton says, Bernstein announced that they think the 4-year cycle pattern is done. We have an elongated cycle topping in 2027 and at 200,000 and 1 million in 2033. Well, that kind of goes with what I've been saying here, right, that we might be in an elongated cycle, an extended cycle as well. Gary, Bitfarms almost went bankrupt last bear cycle if they don't have a balance sheet like IREN and won't be able to borrow as cheaply as IREN has. They've done a lot of good things here, but yes, they almost went bankrupt, just like quite a few other companies almost went bankrupt as well last cycle. But yes, they are in a much better position right now. They have about $1 billion in cash, roughly. They should be okay here for the next, I would say, year to 2 years maybe. That's here. Alex says, just load up on Hive at 3. Very nice. Heinze, serious question though, Seb. Doesn't it worry you that every single miner is executing and Cleanspark seems like it's just all talk? No, because they are actually executing as well. Right, they hired on the person that has data center experience as well. They bought a site in Texas, right? They're working with Submer, I think it's called, a company to help them build out these data centers as well. So they're doing like A, B, C, right? The things that you should be doing in probably in order. So they are working towards it. So I don't think that that's not the case there. Gary says, IREN is only miner buying GPU, longer chip life benefits neoclouds who own the chips, not those renting their energy, which have less risk, but also possible less reward. Yeah, I agree with you there, right? Them being in neocloud, having their own chips, their own customers, things like that, that also helps out IREN there as well. Let's see, Jordan says, Cleanspark and Bitfarms are both all talk, too late to bet on AI hopefuls. I wouldn't count them out just yet, right? We've seen Cleanspark come from nowhere into Bitcoin mining space, becoming in the top 3 miners there for megawatts megawatts and hash rate as well. So I wouldn't count those guys out just yet. Alex asked your thoughts on Hive. I actually love Hive. Hive has been doing really, really well lately this past year. Their growth, 25 exahash, has been phenomenal. My only concern has always been kind of with them not having any operations in the United States. I don't know if that's going to be a detriment to them as far as, stock not performing as nicely as some of the other ones maybe. I could be wrong on that, but I think that has some sort of an impact on the institutions and things like that. They're looking at these guys. Other than that, great operations, great management there for the most part. Great growth here recently. They are transitioning some of their sites in Canada also to HPC AI for their sovereign AI, right? They're working with Kennedy and Bell there as well. So they have a lot of good things happening here for them. Gary asks, are CORZ sites running? They were behind on CoreWeave earnings, which tanked their stock. They have, I can't remember the site name. I think is it in Texas? I can't remember which site is it. But they have like a small data center site that's operating for them already, which they've been operating for a while, I believe. So I think that's the only part that's running. The other ones are still being built out. Rob says, Bitfarms is in a very unique position in Washington, D.C., and also Panther Creek. The chips are in their favor. They're not in Washington, D.C. They're in Washington State. They're in a location that has data centers for Microsoft, Amazon, and others as well in that area that they're in, but that's in Washington State, not Washington, D.C. see, BTBT. Hive is also buying GPUs for HPC. Yes, they are. Yep. Jordan, it's a pity play with a terrible management team and board. Are you talking about Bitfarms there or Hive? Not sure which one you're talking about there. Let's see, the Mr. Big Tell. Hey, do you think IREN is a great buy right now? Thinking about moving some of my Riot into it. I'm up on Riot pretty well. I think IREN is right now the king, queen of the space when it can, when talking about the miners, right? They've done the best as far as execution has been concerned. Their cost of electricity has also been really good. A cost of operation for Bitcoin mining, which then can also translate over into their operations into AI. So I think they're one of the best there right now. Should you do that? That's completely up to you. I don't know how much you're up on Riot. I think IREN is a much better operator than Riot is, at least historically in the past. Can that change going forward? It might. I have a small chance of that happening, I think. That's kind of the way I looked at it. I always looked at them, how do they operate, how conscious are they of investors and things like that. And IREN has always been one of the best. So that's going to be up to you there. Do I think it still could go up much higher? Yes. And let's also think that they should be, somewhere between $80 and $120, $130 per share. So I think they should go much higher. I got to sneeze again. Oh, these stubborn allergies. I hate them. All right, let's see here. Last one. I think Hive and Bitfarms are ones to watch. Yeah, I think they're. Oh, geez, I got to sneeze again. Oh my gosh. They're definitely ones that are way undervalued, I think, as well. So they should be probably valued a little bit higher from where they are. And if they can execute well in HPCI, I think they're going to do very well. Okay? All right. We'll call it a day because I'm starting to sneeze like crazy here. And you guys are hearing me sniffle as well and snort a lot. So we'll call it a day. As always. Let's see. We got one more from Gary coming in here, and we'll call it a day. Come on. Pop in here. My form here. Okay. Gary says, Bitfarms and Cleanspark, you're betting on management teams that could never turn profit Bitcoin mining, not without risk, assuming they will be different in AI HPC. Big risk, possibly big reward stocks. Yeah. Right. Profitability, yes. You're right there on Cleanspark and Bitfarms. Without the impact of the FSB rules for the Bitcoin that they had, they would not be positive yet on the EPS side of things. But they're still cash flow positive, right? The one thing that we always take a look at here and talk about is obviously their depreciation, which has an impact on their EPS as well. So, depending how you look at it, some people look at it differently than others. I'm not going to get into it right now because my nose is running like crazy. But yes, you are in a sense correct there. All right, we'll call it a day. Thank you so much for coming in as always. Love you all. We'll talk about whatever happens tomorrow. It's going to be, like I keep saying, patience is key here. Know what you own as well. Do your research as always. And I wish you guys all the best as always. Love you all. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.